Hello, everybody. I'm George from Ireland. Well, thank you for coming back to my channel. I'm commenting on the fake attack on one of Putin's houses late last month. I know I'm always behind the times talking about these things. So it's coming to a delicate stage in the talks about talks. The Trump administration yet again saying, yeah, you've got to at least have a ceasefire and a parley and trying to sort this out once and for all. And it's about the sixth time that the United States has done this. There's been some sort of deadline. The Ukrainian delegation speaking to the American delegation, and Kiev saying they're about 90% of the way there. But people always come out of diplomatic negotiations, no matter what happens, always saying, yes, it was a good and productive exchange of views. It was useful. They never say, yeah, pointless, valueless, waste of time. I suppose that's why it's undiplomatic, or diplomatic language in plain English is called lying, right? Anyway, so who was it? Sir Nicholas Wooten, or Wooten anyway, said, an ambassador is an honest man sent abroad to lie for the good of his country. Yeah, and that is the definition of diplomacy. All right, and going on to what supposedly happened, is the Russians trying to elicit sympathy from the United States. Well, you're a president, I'm a president, so Zelensky, and you have houses and I have houses. Oh, what a low blow! How could they? Ukrainians allegedly firing 91 drones and at Valdai in the Novgorod region, which is north of Moscow, well north of Moscow. And the Ruskies saying every single drone was shot down. And then they showed one photograph of one of the drones, all right? I mean, which could be a real Ukrainian drone, but that doesn't prove it was anywhere near Valdai. I'm not sure they're able to geolocate that photo if the background was rather unclear. But why does that mean that there shouldn't be a ceasefire, or the peace talks shouldn't go ahead? Let's pretend it were true. Why, this is a war, so hundreds of thousands of people have been killed. Tens of thousands of our civilians, almost all those civilians are Ukrainian civilians. And I mean, I regret every death, just about. I regret the civilian deaths particularly, and that includes the Russian ones as well as the Ukrainian ones. And every single death is completely the responsibility of Putin, right? If he hadn't started this war, not a single person would have been killed. He could end this war any day now, to say it's over, stop for ceasefire. He wouldn't even accept a ceasefire. He's declared several ceasefires, which they totally haven't observed. They say ceasefire, and they usually fire at just the same rate. So it's absolutely preposterous. It shows how totally dishonest he is. You'd have to be staggeringly stupid to trust a single word he says. With him, the guarantee of non-aggression is a guarantee of aggression. He'll break every treaty he signs. The only way to get him to sign a treaty is for him to know the repercussions of him breaching it are severe, and they can't stand up to that. So, okay, soldiers in wartime are legitimate targets to be killed. All right, Putin is a soldier. He's commander-in-chief of the Russian armed forces. He often wears Russian military uniform. So why should he be immune? These poor teenage conscripts have no idea what they're doing. They duped by the propaganda, they're forced into it, and they get killed in their hundreds of thousands. Innocent boys. Why should Putin be? Why should he be spared when he's the guiltiest of all? It's sick. I remember seeing an anti-war post at the time of the liberation of Iraq saying, "War kills civilians, not leaders." Well, this would be an exception when a leader could actually get killed, and leaders do get killed occasionally. Even is completely acceptable to target him, right? Anyway, obviously, I would say usually political leaders in peacetime, no, definitely not. But I don't see why the supreme commander of the armed forces cannot be got when everybody else can be got. So many other houses have been got. The Russians have deliberately killed civilians many, many times. That's murder. It's not collateral damage. I realize you're going for a proper military target, and then as a byproduct of that, some civilians nearby get killed, or honest mistakes. They think something's a military target and it's not. But they've done this again and again, hitting hospitals, marked children. The drone footage they proudly published, the first-person view drones of targeting civilians in Kherson and so on, the Bucha massacre, widespread use of rape, the widespread use of torture, the kidnapping of over 20,000 children, and on and on and on. Goodness. And kidnapping adults too. So I don't see why Putin should be spared. They've obviously tried to kill Zelensky, capture Zelensky, and they haven't managed to do so. And I realize that that's permissible as well, because he is the commander-in-chief and he wears a military uniform all the time. And so we go on. All right. But the Kiev said, no, we didn't do this. And drone attacks, they almost always say, yeah, sure, we did it. And they boast about it. And so there's no proof that the Russians have offered. There's so-called evidence, is bogus evidence. So it is a fabrication supposed to excuse even more attacks on Ukrainian cities and to delay peace talks, thinking it would elicit sympathy from Trump. Now, Trump often says he believes Russian propaganda over the assessment of his own intelligence agencies. So the CIA and other Western intelligence agencies say there's no evidence that Ukraine ever wanted to or tried to hit any of Putin's houses. A good thing, some people would say, if you kill him, the replacements are even worse. The reaction will be a nuclear strike or something. Okay, so the obviously Russian government's got no credibility. Constant lies, lie after lie after lie after lie, unblushingly told. Most of what they say is lies, that the massive military buildup on Ukraine's borders in early 2022 was no threat to anyone. And by the way, this is not a war. You attack another country by land, sea, and air, that it's not a war. It's a 14-year jail sentence for calling a war, and claiming there's ceasefires when they haven't declared a ceasefire, claiming these regions are part of Russia, and all this. Yeah, wow, it's sick that this 15th century treaty counts. And by the way, all the treaties ever since don't count, including ones signed by Putin himself, recognizing the borders of Ukraine, even recognizing Crimea as Ukrainian. And so a lot of American politicians say they do not believe there was any such attack. And I don't know of a single one who did. So anyway, reports from people around Valdai said there was no indication of any major drone attack or explosions. I suppose it leaves possible there was a small-scale drone attack. And I mean, how close to Valdai does it have to be remotely credible? 1 kilometer, 10 kilometers, 100 kilometers? Okay, there are drones fired every single day, and they might have been 1 or 2, 100 kilometers away or something. But that doesn't amount to evidence there was any attempt to hit his house there. And it'd only be worth hitting it if you knew who was there at the time. And by the way, they've got very strong air defense around Putin's residence, and the Ukrainians know that. So it's not for moral reason they wouldn't do it. It would just be inefficacious because, you know, be shot down. There's no chance to get there. So what they know the Ruskies can't defend everywhere. There are too many oil refineries. There are too many military factories. There's too many military units. You know, you can't have total air defense. So you go for the gaps in the air defense. There's no point in attacking the most heavily defended target. Right. So what do you think? So, and remember, Trump was going to bring peace within 24 hours. Here we are, almost a year from his inauguration, and peace is nowhere near. Putin is still pursuing his maximalist goals. There seems to be no indication he's going to go for it. Now, really cratering his economy could help. And obviously, these sanctions have been less effectual than people were thinking. They've taken a longer time to really impact Russia. They are impacting Russia. But is that enough to oblige him to declare a ceasefire? We shall see. Well, thanks for watching my channel. Make sure you subscribe on Patreon, donate PayPal, georgecallahan790gmail.com. Goodbye.